Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning into the Bonus Point podcast once again. I am your host, Tj Olsen, and can't wait to get stuck into talking about this weekend's rugby. Before we get started, I just want to thank our amazing sponsors. First off, Whalebird Kombucha. If you're looking for a great tasting beverage that is actually good for you, go try them out at your local Whole Foods, Air One, and other health food stores. Secondly, F45 Culver City. F45 Culver City isn't just a gym, it's a real community, and their team are all there to help you achieve your fitness goals with sessions in just under 45 minutes. At the moment, California's gone back into lockdown, but they're still there for your quarantine training, life-changing results, so go hit them up online and see what they can do for you in sessions in just 45 minutes. Okay, this past weekend of rugby was very entertaining with the Western Force returning to Super Rugby from Rapid Rugby, and easily the most anticipated game in Super Rugby, Aotearoa against the Crusaders and the Blues. So super excited to have my brother back in joining us for this episode to talk about all the rugby that went on over the weekend. Mr. Knovell Capote, aka Tavita Halafia, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Salutations. I'm good, man. The week of rugby has been amazing, and I'm looking forward to this week's rugby as well. And, every Friday I like to jump on here, have a good old chinwag about the week that was.
Yeah, it was definitely a good weekend. It was tough for me, though, because I had to avoid social media altogether for about 3 days because I had no Wi-Fi where I was. Yeah, I was away camping at Shaver Lake, and beautiful place, but rough for me, man, because I'm sitting here avoiding all these messages from people sending me about the scores, and I didn't want the score to get ruined. I want it to be a good, authentic experience. But yeah, how's so I hear everything's kind of gone a bit pear-shaped for Australia with the whole quarantine stuff.
Yo, seriously, man, we're turning into America. We've got one state fully locked down, another one following in New South Wales, and I'm sure here in Queensland we're gonna not be too far behind. So lucky we got rugby. That's all I can say.
That's the thing, man. As long as we got rugby, so yeah, that's the only thing I'm confident about. But yeah, let's get stuck straight into it. So the first one we had, we'll talk about is the Reds Rebels game. So the one thing that I kind of I felt the same after watching that one. That was the game I watched before I drove up to go camping.
That's the worst game to watch of the
weekend. I had a 4-hour drive after that, so I was sitting there just going, "Oh man!" But I think the one thing that has actually been pretty interesting is the trial law that Matt Timur supposedly designed. So he was a part of the design committee for some of these new laws for the comp. Was the kicking in the 20 in his attacking 22, where the defensive team can't make a mark if they catch it. So it puts them under a lot of pressure putting that kick up. And I saw him using that a lot on the weekend. So what did you think about that kind of tactic to utilize that?
I thought it was overused personally. I think here's the thing: when you compare the new trial laws and you compare that to, that rule only works if defensively they're coming through to spoil that turnover, right?
Yeah.
And no one did. I don't understand the rule. I don't see the point of it, because half the time, look, you look at most Kiwi teams, they're not taking that mark anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's free flowing rugby. So
I think that's what they're banking on, though, is it's kind of I think a lot of tens are banking on that kick for the outside backs or wherever they're kicking to make a mistake or not kind of capitalize on that catch, and they're hoping to capitalize on that mistake, which is something that I find that's definitely possible for a lot of Australian rugby teams.
It is, but I also think too, it's like, across the board of how the Australian rugby union teams are playing, they don't have the defensive patterns to make that work. You watch any South African team, any of the Kiwi teams, and you even go to the Northern Hemisphere, Japanese rugby teams play that tactic. Like their outside backs are quite flat in the offense, knowing that kick's coming through. So then they're trying to put the opposition team under pressure defensively. But they kept doing it. And in my head, I just kept thinking, the 50-22 rule is smarter. Yeah. Push them back, punish them, and then work off that. What you're doing, you're relying on one person to make a mistake. And to be perfectly honest, and no disrespect to rugby league players, but rugby league wingers, fullbacks do not have the hands that wingers and fullbacks do in rugby union in general. And you know what I mean? Like, these guys are under high balls all the time. So I mean, the rule's fine and all, but if you're trying to make the rugby more free flowing, then coach it. Don't enforce a rule that doesn't work if the defensively or if attacking wise the team that's kicked it aren't putting pressure on defensively.
So you're saying it's not really kind of a benefit or kind of a negative for like the Rebels when they put up that many kicks. It's kind of just a
Not at all.
50-50. We'd rather play ball in hand.
Yeah, definitely. I like used. I thought it was the most. They kicked away that much possession, waiting for Queensland to make a mistake. And I thought it was just like, why, when you can just keep ball in hand, keep that attack and like building pressure. I think trying to, it's almost like the Milford for the Broncos, when he throws up that big bomb and that's his only trick. Do you know what I mean? For kicking. And that's what they're trying to bank on in Union. And I just think it doesn't work. I don't think it harms the game. I just think it just goes to show how terrible Australian attackers are, like the fly halves are right now, and playmakers, that they have to rely on the opposition. Like, it's a tactic for the opposition to make a mistake. We're trying to exploit it. As opposed to, let's build the pressure, let's tire them out, let's make them tackle, and watch what the holes come. But that's just me, man. And I love free flowing rugby, but I think that rule in particular is just stupid.
Yeah. One thing that I did enjoy from the Rebels though was Famusili, the props performance. the massive tackle he put on Hegarty was a definite kind of eye-opening, where he would turn to the Australian selectors and go, "Look at me now."
And his rugby league run off the kickoff, off the dropout.
Yeah.
Dude, you can tell that. So I heard a rumor that he was actually in the Melbourne Storm.
Famusili was?
Yeah, he was in the Melbourne Storm. And what happened was he wasn't getting an NRL contract. He was just sort of in that train-on contract. And then the Rebels came a knocking at the door, and I'm very glad that they did, because that guy is the man.
Well, I was confused what Hegarty was gonna do. Like, he was looking to pass when he came off that catch, and he just like, I'll just go straight.
The funniest part of that whole incident is he had support inside and out, and he also had outside backs on either side of him, and he ran straight at him. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, it was beautiful.
Was not smart, but I think Famusili definitely has a kind of, I guess, a head up now in kind of the front row division, where he can make an argument where I deserve kind of a Wallaby spot, where he can say,
I think so, except the thing is, and I'm not ruling it out, but I'm going to put a call out there that the Reds front row is definitely the most dynamic front row across all Super Rugby teams. And that's including the Aotearoa competition, because I just think that, yeah, man, I really like how they're scrumming, and I really like how, even when they do they inject players off the bench, it's still so strong, man. And I really like how, if you watch their scrum and watch their scrum head, you'll see how tight they are and how low they are. And they're really just like, they did it last week against the Waratahs, they did it this week against the Rebels. They just dominated those scrums, left, right, and center. And I'm looking forward to seeing them play the Brumbies, because I think the Brumbies have a formidable pack as well and a great front row. But I think, unless Famusili can actually get that his propping under wraps, I can't see him making an indent in the Wallabies. But having said that, Nella Tupou was like that 2 years ago. So, and now, I think Nella is probably the best Australian prop right now across the board.
He's made an argument for himself to be at least top 2, top 3, definitely.
Yeah, man, his scrummaging has come through leaps and bounds. Problem is, he's still got that Tongan brain. Look, and I mean, sometimes we have brain snaps on the field. I get it. You need to stop charging, bruh. Late hits are not cool, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. The late hits didn't help his cause about trying to explain that he's turning over a new leaf. But at the end of the day, he does a lot of things that a lot of guys can't do or don't do on a regular basis. So,
like, if we're gonna talk distinctly front row, he is as distinctive as a prop in Australian rugby as Coles is as a hooker to New Zealand rugby. They just do things that you don't think that they should be able to do and put themselves in positions that you don't think could be there. And I think having like him, Nella versus Famasili was like great because you're seeing for once in Australian rugby, we're just seeing two dudes go bang, bang on each other. And that, again, that's no diss to the rest of the front rowers in Australian rugby, but I missed seeing just two big dudes wanting to run over each other and their teammates.
Definitely. No, I agree with that. But I think the one thing that was kind of lacking was the discipline on both sides. I think especially with the Reds in the first half, you have early in the game, Tupou, he received 2 offside penalties within 5 minutes, a bunch of penalties in the first half, and then a yellow card to round out the first half. But the big one with the offsides was they just need a clear step from the last feet. So what do you think about discipline from both sides?
Okay, so this is one thing that I've written down on my notes here is I'm going to say some of those calls were really harsh. The halfbacks are getting away a lot, hands on the ball to move, then releasing. I also think there's no clear direction with where the ball is at the end of the ruck. Do you know what I mean? If the ball's rolling out, is that the end of the ruck then? So then we can push forward? Or do you know what I mean? And I think each penalty was sort of different in itself. And I get Liam Wright went up actually to the ref during the game and was just like, hey, you know, you pinged us for this last time and now you're pinging us for this. Which one is it? Yeah. So having said that, I'm not defending that they should be that half a step behind the ruck in the first place. But definitely some of them, especially the ones that were close to the ruck, I thought were really harsh because you can see they're looking at the ruck and then you can hear the out in the call, like, oh, do you know what I mean? So they're only reacting to what they're seeing. And I think some of those are a bit harsh. But the discipline, you could see Brad Thorne going into halftime was pissed. Yeah. And I don't know what everyone else was watching, but the Reds deserved to win that game. I think the Rebels were kicking away all the time. They capitalized off Reds' mistakes. Rebels didn't actually outplay the Reds in any way, shape, or form.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, I think that the Reds were their ill discipline that first half crushed them. Like they were, and then they came out and obviously got their ass handed to them at halftime, and came out in the second half real lackluster, and then just on a tackle binge of doom. And Melbourne still couldn't score. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, the Reds need to fix that up, though. I think with Peter Ryan gone as defensive coach, they're obviously getting used to a newer system. But I mean, Brad Thorne was a defensive giant when he was playing both NRL and Super Rugby. So, I mean, the lack of discipline baffles me, man, because they're stupid too. Like, just silly.
Well, you have a look on the other side where the Rebels were going. Is you had a look at the penalty count, and I think there was probably about 7 penalties within the last 10 minutes of the game. And you just look at that and go, where is the discipline when it comes to kind of your gameplay? It was ridiculous. But
dude, I mean, again, I'll tell you what I took away from that game. Right, the discipline from both teams was awful. They play any team, like they play the Western Force to beat either of those teams, hands down, just with the lack of discipline. But what I saw, look, it's a bit touch and go here. Matt Tomoa, in my eyes right now, no way makes the Wallaby team. That guy passing the ball, and then they ran a play where he's passed to Meeks to run a wrap, and Meeks has overpassed it behind him, and he just stops. And I saw that in the first half. And then again in the first half, I saw he's kicked the ball away, sort of in the center of the field. And then they're running down his left flank, and he's still in the center of the field. When your fullback and your wingers have rushed. You're now the fullback. You need to, run that cover line. And I just saw a real lackluster pattern in what he was doing. In the second half, it got even worse. Yeah. And I was just like, what's this guy doing? Like, once you make that play. Alternatively, James
O'Connor
was doing too much. Pass the ball, wrapping around. He was sort of in the way a bit. Do you know what I mean? But what kind of 10 do you want? Do you want one that's sort of overly eager or one that isn't eager enough? And I think both of them, because of them, both their respective teams were struggling to create good patterns. the fact that it came down to golden point and neither one held the ball and ran it goes to show how where their mindsets are as playmakers. Do you know what I mean? Because if you watch that golden point,
yeah, I think that you are right. James O'Connor was trying to produce a lot from what he had, but on the other side of the coin, he did have 11 line break assists in like the last 6 games. So it's something where he is trying to. I agree with you in a sense where he is trying to do too much and he's trying to create something out of nothing. But I think that's what the Reds rely on a little bit for him. They need
I
that
agree.
kind of
I agree.
I agree with you. Sticking on that conversation, so I would say James O'Connor definitely in the conversation to be included in that Wallabies kind of at least squad. Matt Toomua, I think is I'm in agreement with you. I think he's on the fringe, and I think with his experience, he'll definitely get put in because I just think they'll have to. But who would you say if you had to choose between a couple of 10s to chuck in there?
Dude, man, I'm choosing right now. My starting 10's that young kid from the Brumbies. He is the man, bro.
Lolas, no, not Lolas. Lolasia? Is that Lolasia, yeah. I reckon he was great last week. Oh man, yeah. I'm actually pretty excited to see him this coming week.
But, also, can I just add, handsome young lad. Handsome young lad.
I'm not hating. He's a good looking guy.
yeah. I think all around what we see in him, very Richie Mo'unga like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some reason, play slows down when he gets the ball, so he can do his little, enter his bag of tricks. I think also defensively, he's amazing. He does not drop at all.
Yeah,
he's
good.
So, but yeah, I mean that game. Going back to the Reds Rebels, I mean, what the heck, man? Golden point. Why are you kicking it away? And again, it just goes to show the Rebels they were waiting on a Queensland mistake as opposed to backing their talent to punch down the field, get it to Matt Toomua, who can drop goal. Like he
definitely can.
That dude can slot him from 60 meters out. All you need to do is get to your 10 and just go, all right, bros, here you go. Do you know what I mean? So it was a frustrating game. I thought the Reds were unfortunate to win, and I think the Rebels were just stupid to be kicking that much possession away.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the next game. Was the Tars and the Force. So I think the one thing I want to talk about first is before we get to the Force, I want to talk about the Tars and kind of their thought pattern or the discipline around the rucks. So obviously the refs have been really critical on the breakdown, especially with one thing that the Tars really struggled with in the first half was correct entry at the ruck. So they had a lot of penalties that happened with that. But you'll notice that I think it was more of a communication thing or trying to get those extra meters that the ball carriers will kind of roll out of contact or they'll try and gain those extra meters. And in that process, because they're trying because those people are trying to kind of counter ruck that ball and the defensive pressure has been really good, the support players don't know what to do. They don't know whether to bide their time or whether they go in quickly and just insert incorrectly. And you saw that there was 3 turnovers from that. So what did you kind of think about that?
It's interesting, right? Because I can understand why they're trying to get those extra meters. I also think too, it goes to show there's a lack of effort in regards to a clean out and seal with quick ball retention back out. Comparatively, you watch when the Western Force around that time, they were very good at not committing to the ruck and spreading straight off that first initial contact, which was frustrating the Waratahs. So if it's not working, what are you hoping to get from it? Do you know what I mean? It was, it only works if the pod that's coming in to make those initial those extra meters are actually you're doing it at pace. But it was almost like stop a play, let's go again, or hit them more at slowing down, they go again. And I thought it was just silly, man. And that's where you're getting those penalties from because it was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, you saw Rob Simmons in one of them. He came blatantly from the side and you didn't even see him argue with it. You sat there and you saw him just get up. He goes, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it wasn't a good call.
Yeah. I mean, urgency is one thing. And like, I think that's the one thing they lacked against the Reds was urgency. So they definitely tried to pick it up a notch. But by picking it up a notch, they were just, again,
just shooting
mistakes,
themselves
man.
in the foot. Yeah,
Dude, James Hooper is also a big, big, big problem right now. That dude is giving away way too many penalties in the last couple weeks. And his ill discipline at the ruck, do you know what I mean? Deliberately slowing the ball down. You know, I don't know. I don't know, man. He just hasn't been impressive for me. And I mean, not that I'm the biggest fan of his, but he's definitely not been playing to a standard you'd want your Australian number 7 to be playing.
Well, you're not the biggest fan of James O'Connor as well, but you'll definitely be fair with him. You'll rip into him and you'll give him a spray, but you won't you won't be overcritical.
Look, to be honest, it hurts me when I have to give them props, but you got to give it. You got to respect them. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I mean, James Hooper is the Wallabies number 7. He's a leader for Australian rugby and the Waratahs. And I just think he needs to be held accountable to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you deliberately gave up the captaincy for the Waratahs so that you didn't have that any extra pressure. I'm like, well, mate, you shouldn't be doing stupid things that these young kids are looking at. And Rob Simmons as well, like that penalty itself, like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think too, though, there was a nervousness because for whatever the score was at the end, the Western Force were very composed. And I told you during the last podcast that the speed's not going to be an issue for the Western Force. And you saw that. They were actually sort of taking it up a notch. In that last 20, they were like, all right, cool, let's pick it up. We got to pick it up. We got to pick it up. And the Waratahs were the ones that were starting to struggle a little bit.
Well, I think just before I go on to my next point about the Waratahs was, I think the Wallabies have a really, really like big gap in their locks. So at the moment, you've got Rob Simmons, who he's a great line-out performer, but when it comes to a lot of other things, he's lacking a lot of talent. And then you look at the rest of the competition, you don't really have too many other players that can really slot in them well. Like we've got Lucan, like we were talking to, but he's a better flanker than he is a lock. He can be used at lock in my opinion, but I don't think the Wallabies can utilize him to his fullest potential. So so what do you kind of think about the gap of locks at the moment and kind of as just Australian rugby? Are they going to be struggling when it comes to test time?
I think they're going to be struggling in regards to trying to find an ultimate player. I think obviously Lucan Sakailoto is going to be the main option because, I mean, on the ball he's great and off the ball he's great. His work rate's really big. Definitely a better Lucy. But I think he's playing his position really well at the Reds. And I think not having the pressure of being a loose forward, so actually being able to, we're seeing him truck it up a lot more. And he's definitely a really strong runner. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a couple of surprises because you've got guys like Harry Hopkins, for goodness sakes. He's 6'9" and playing number 8. Do you know what I mean? So you've got options in regards to bigger guys coming in to play lock. But I definitely think specialist locks, we're definitely lacking big time. And I think the choices for the Wallabies are going to be slim pickings. And at the moment, Rob Simmons does not make that cut. I'm sorry. For as good as your line-out is, your work ethic around the park, it lacks. And when he does get the ball, he's not making those meters you want a lock to make. And, that's being critical, but definitely you look at his counterparts in the Aotearoa competition, those guys are making 60, 70 meters plus from the line. Do you know what I mean? So you really got to and Dave Rennie he's an attacking coach. So he wants his pods to be making it over the advantage line. And he'll prefer that as opposed to great line out jumper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting, man. We're only week 2. Week 3, like this weekend's games are going to be great just to see what happens. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I think the stock at lock, real low, man. But also exciting. New kids coming through. We could chuck them in. Just, baptism of fire, bro.
Yeah, I think David Rennie's going to have a lot of interesting choices to make, and I'm going to really enjoy kind of his head kind of thought when he goes into choosing those people. But last thing about the Tars, I think the best part was I thought Carmichael Hunt made a true difference when he came into kind of the mix of the game. What
a dude! Big thunder thighs, bro. That is a bit slower.
Yeah.
boy, his hands are still silky smooth. His feet, what he does is he's able to put their defenders in two minds. They don't know if he's passing, stepping, kicking, and you can see that he wraps it up. And whenever he passes a ball, he puts the receiving player in a better position than what he is every time.
And he ended up having 2 50-22s. Like, he was able just to whip those out of his ass like they were nothing.
Exactly. And that's what they need. Why he's starting on the bench, my theory is probably fitness is going to play a part there. And also, you want someone to come on and finish the game.
Yeah.
And I thought he really did. And defensively, too. He's always been a nugget, always been able to kill people. And when he comes on, it makes you can see the rush defense is so good, but he rushes and waits. So he, again, puts the attacking team in two minds, whether is he drifting, is he staying? Do you know what I mean?
So they're kind of on that back foot, front foot. They're really hesitating.
Yeah, and he's rushing, he's leading that line off, and so he's making them make a decision faster than they had hoped to, which I think is great. You know, he's also front runner too for Wallabies. If he could just drop a couple kilos there.
Him and who was it? Paisami, I think.
Dude, Reds?
From the Reds, yeah. I think that would be a great 12-13 combination.
Paisami's just like a junior Carmichael Hunt. If you go back to when Carmichael was in the Broncos system and coming through, he was just that shorter dude, stocky, and just running lines of doom, man. I really I'm excited to see what happens with Paisami. And Carmichael, man, like he's 35? Are you kidding?
He's got to be up there. Like, somewhere around there.
Well, we went to school together, so we played together. So he he was a year older than me, so for sure he's like 35. But yeah, man, beautiful player, man, and I get excited watching him play. I think he deserves a lot more praise.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Also, wish I got to see him and Karevi in a Wallabies jersey this year together.
Oh, yeah. That would have been dope. But let's move on to the Western Force. So I think, obviously, a lot of speculation. We spoke about it last week. A lot of people didn't think they could handle the caliber of Super Rugby, and they couldn't.
And we told them, TJ. Yeah, we told them.
They definitely
told them.
They can prove that they can handle their own in this caliber competition. And you are right. They did bring an extra kind of element to it. They added that speed, and they were able to kind of. You saw their first try. They were able to capitalize out wide and get it. What did you think of them?
Dude, I'm not surprised at all. We spoke about it on the podcast, and I did say, if anything, they're going to be the ones that command the field a lot more, and we saw that. I think they were extremely unlucky not to capitalize a bit more. I think they got a little overawed in that once the Waratahs forward pack really started to pick it up, they just couldn't match them on a physicality basis. But I think overall they were amazing, and they're gonna do some upsets. I don't think they're gonna go through this competition winless, and I really hope that people start getting behind them, because I was cheering for the Force. I'll tell you that, man. And
they're my team this yeir for Super Rugby AU. So
man, I wasn't surprised at all. I think the one thing we can learn too is their forward pack were definitely more militant than the Waratahs. And I think of all the Australian teams, I really liked their attack. It was short, sharp, in, ball out, and they were making decisions on the go, which did put the Waratahs on the back foot. They didn't know how to handle it. They're like, wait. And there was you notice they weren't, they'll go left, swing right, but then they keep going down the blind. And so you could see the Waratahs were just starting to get defensively. We're getting a little bit tired, because they're like, what's going on here? Why are they, there's no sort of pattern in inverted commas.
It wasn't a traditional set piece where they're trying to go and kind of exhaust to one side, or they're trying to hit a certain area. They're playing what's in front of them, and they're kind of going through that kind of mindset. It was really good.
Oh yeah, I think, dude.
Yeah, I think the Force definitely have a lot of experience. You saw when their front row that was coming off the bench. They've you've got Reddy, and then you've got a few other boys that have played a lot of for a lot of Australian rugby, and then you've got guys like Ian Pryor, and you guys got John O'Lance. So guys that necessarily haven't got the Wallabies call up, but they were definitely fringe players for a lot of years. So,
dude, John O'Lance has gotten better, bro. Because let's be honest, he sucked at the Reds. Okay, like he wasn't good, man.
yeah.
And because he just did a stint over, was it Japan? He did the stint, and he's come straight back.
I think it was either Japan or he played for one of the European teams or something like that.
Right.
It was definitely overseas rugby.
Whatever he did, dude,
yeah.
so good. I actually, like, in my head, and again, this is no personal attacks. I'm just being honest. I was like, ugh, I don't like how this back line's going to be directed. But man, I thought they did really well, and I thought he in particular was a shock because I didn't think that he sort of could. I thought they needed someone at 10 that could really lead the pack around, and I didn't think he was it, and I was completely wrong, and I ate my words, and it was great to see.
Because was he mostly a fullback in the Red system?
And he moved into 10 a little bit too, yeah. And then when he messed up, they back to fullback.
They're not very forgiving with some mistakes in the Reds. I think when Brad Thorne's kind of given a little bit of leeway, but still, like when you have a bad couple of games, they're like, yep, off you go on the boat. See you later.
See you later, mate.
But no, I definitely think he did kind of prove that he is in a caliber at 10. He was able to kind of hold his own, and I thought Ian Pryor at 9, he brought a great element to it.
Dude, silky smooth delivery.
Oh, great! Yes, straight through. Yeah, he kind of reminded me of Aaron Smith a little bit. It was just no funny business, just ball straight to the carrier.
And his chat to the forwards, like his communication. I was like, damn, man, this is like really reminded me of like your George Gregan, Piliwipu, where they're just like nonstop yap. You know, the type of halfback that you want to punch in the face during the game and then give him a hug afterwards.
But he's great for your team. Like he's terrible for the other team, but then everyone's sitting on the other side of the ruck going, shut the hell up.
I actually saw him like at a ruck. And it was the biggest Aaron Smith thing. He's like, sir, they're offside. The ref looks and he just takes the ball out. And that's like, so I was just like, you're the man, bro. Yeah. You're the man.
That's definitely what you need. I love the kind of force, their whole dynamic. But I think that one of the things that was really good that I saw was Feleti Kaitua. He had a really great performance at hooker. Not like 100% at line-out throws, but it was still good. But you saw a lot of the other hookers in the kind of the competition across that Super Rugby AU and Aotearoa. There were some pretty average performances. He did pretty well, I reckon.
Dude, man, let's call it right now. He's a dark horse for a Wallaby call-up.
That's what I reckon.
Yeah. And you're right, the hookers throws at the moment have been terrible across the board. Yeah. But what he does bring is he's a smaller hooker, but definitely a more dynamic hooker. I think, compared to like Painga Moses and whatnot, he's very mobile, very, very mobile, and very strong at contact. Not saying the others aren't strong, but because he is that little bit more compact. And he's still quite a tall kid. He's about, he's just a bit taller than me, but he may be like 6 foot. But just, I think, he's your more traditional hooker. Give me the ball, tuck it under, and let's just hit. You know what I mean? But understands the play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a call into the squad. I think I'd like to see his scrummaging come on just a little bit better. I think the front row struggled a little bit in regards to when the hit was made. But you could see him evening it out in the middle there and really locking his props in. So I think he had a real solid game, played really well, and I'd like to see him in a Wallaby call up, to be honest. Also, he's my mate, so why not?
Yeah, South boy, so he's got a bit of love from us. So yeah, nuts. Okay. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk about Super Rugby Aotearoa. Can't wait to talk about the Canes, the Highlanders, and probably the most anticipated game.
We weren't let down. We were not let down.
Mate, it was a good game. It was a good game. But yeah, no, we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll have a quick chat. All right, welcome back, everyone. Now we get to talk about the awesome, super impactful Super Rugby Aotearoa competition over the weekend. So we'll kick off the conversation with the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders. So the Canes versus the Highlanders game started off with a lot of movement in the first early parts of the game. We had We had 2 tries scored, one by each team in the first 5 minutes, but both were called back due to obstructions. So at least the refereeing was consistent. They didn't award one rather than the other. What did you think about that first few minutes of the game?
Dude, hectic, so fast. Without sounding mean, it's just the quality of rugby and the standard in the Aotearoa competition is just ridiculous. I think what you saw was just 2 attacking forces ready to put the knife through the throat to the opposition and really handle business. And look, both legitimate calls. Both were no tries, I thought too. So, and they played out really well. But if you did award it, then they would have had to award the second one anyway. So I thought it was great. But dude, so exciting. And I mean, like, the Hurricanes and Highlanders are really playing a style of rugby that I super enjoy. And they literally just like run,
Just
kick,
so much.
Run.
It is a very dynamic game when it comes to the Hurricanes, but you had that kind of dynamic play with easily your number 1 and your number 2 halfback in New Zealand rugby in the contest. Both halfbacks got tries on the weekend, but Aaron Smith, he can't be happy about that little dummy run that
dude.
on the first.
Oh man! And you see his little smirk?
He was just like, oh.
You know what though? Speaking of, I think Perenara going to 10 for the end of the game. Dude, man, I like him at 10, bro.
Yeah,
I think he looks real good at 10, very comfortable. So is that coming from the All Blacks coach down, or is this what Hurricanes are trying to? Because I'm telling you what, if that's the type of play that they're looking at for the All Blacks, then Smith starting on the bench and Perenara is starting at 9.
Well, we spoke about it last week about whether that call could be coming up from up top, and this could be a possibility. You could have Fozzie, the new head coach. Obviously, he might be trying to switch it up and maybe trying to kind of carry over that either the Blues mentality where you want to have 3 playmakers in that kind of 10, 12, 15 jersey, or you want to be building those utility players where you can have a 10 play 15, or you can have a 12 and a 13 play a 10 or something like that, where they want double uses. So that is definitely a possibility that it could be happening. But yeah, we don't know. Who do you think is the number 1 9 in the competition at the moment right now? Or who do you think?
I still think Perenara is the number 1 9.
Yep.
I just prefer his style of play. I think his delivery is a bit more slick. He's definitely more dynamic. But as a specialist, you can't go past Aaron Smith. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. Yeah, you got to kind of make the argument about what type of 9 you want, because anybody can make an argument to say Perenara or Smith are the best, but how they're the best is how you obviously, as you said, how you want them to play.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I think, I wrote down actually his attacking meters, because he played like 23 minutes at 10. His attacking meters were more in that 23 minutes than all fly halves in either side of the half. Yeah. I was like, that is an astounding statistic.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially in New Zealand, they'll make the argument to say that Aaron Smith is the number 1 halfback because he has the more experience starting in tests and things like that. But I agree with you. I believe TJ probably is the number 1 in my opinion at the moment, because he does have that utility kind of standpoint. He can go in and out of those positions. His passing is good, and I reckon his defense on top of that is a lot more impactful. Than Aaron Smith.
100%. I particularly like his line speed off set play, off the ruck, of set play and the ruck. You'll notice when it's the other, when it's not their feed, wherever he decides to go, sometimes he'll stay on the blind. Other times he'll drop behind the 8 and then him and the 8 will split. Or sometimes he just pushes on the fly half straight away. And that speed, and you can tell that he puts the opposition that's attacking, they don't know what to do. And he particularly does it within the first 10 minutes. The first 22. The first kick in the 22. Like, he just puts on a big rush, and most of the time the oh, pardon me. Most of the time, the kicker or the 10. That's my nephew coming through. They have to take a step, or they'll pass to the secondary kicker to kick through. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like again, I think Aaron Smith's awesome. Would it be fair to say he's on a decline though?
It would be tough to disagree with you on that, because he's been at that caliber for so long, where he was the epitome of a New Zealand nine. He was in that kind of. He would have to be on a decline. You can't stay at the top that long.
No, I think the one thing skill wise is his box kicks they're not as pinpoint as they used to be, and that's one thing that I loved about him was anytime he did a box kick, you're just like, oh snap, oh snap.
You knew it was going exactly where he wanted it to go.
Exactly, and I've just noticed sort of the last 2 years, those box kicks have he's doing a lot less of them. The frequency is a lot less. And that's something that even at All Black level, they loved him doing it that much because it was so accurate. So, I mean, that's insane that still top 5 halfback in the world. You'd argue top 3. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just interesting.
He's definitely not a slacker. He's definitely a performer. Yeah.
No. Well, we know he's a performer, don't we? Wink, wink.
Oh yeah. He loves a disabled toilet. But that's another conversation for another day. But no, it's definitely, I think, another kind of element that TJ brings is kicking out of hand as well. You saw on the weekend that kick that he made pretty much just to cover the Hurricanes' ass. He pretty much kicked from, I think, just outside their 22, and it made it into their 22. Perfect placement. Everyone thought it was just like a fluke, and he looked at it and he was like, "Yep, let's go. That's exactly where I wanted it to go." So
exactly. Hey, I will ask you though, what did you think of the forward packs playing each other?
Okay, so in this one, I was kind of a bit split. So you had guys like Lomax. Who was pretty dynamic on the field, and he made a big impact. Ash Dixon is, like we spoke about it last week. He always brings a top caliber level of rugby. I don't think they were relatively even. I think the Hurricanes had kind of a step up on them in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what it was.
Like a sort of at contact had that pep in their step. Hey, they were definitely commanding the advantage, getting over that advantage line. Not by much, but they were just they almost anticipated that they were going to be, a meter to 2 meters over that advantage line.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
They were pushing for more. I agree with you. Where you'd see Ash Dixon, he would make an extra meter here and there, but then the rest of their pack, they would kind of just take contact and they would just accept it. They would just go straight into ground and look to build for the next phase, where you'd want to add that extra meter of contact, because that's when you put those. You saw on the weekend when you put like teams like the Crusaders on the back foot, when you're able to get those extra meters, just little small ones, they don't know what to do next phase. They have to kind of go into that panic mode. So I thought the Hurricanes, they added that, like you said, pep in the step, and they kind of added that extra element to it. Yep. But other than that, there wasn't too much difference in the contest. I thought the scrums were pretty even, and I thought, the mauls were pretty even as well. So I thought everything was pretty neck and neck.
Yeah. I definitely. It was an interesting game in general. And I think it was a game where the backs got to shine a lot. But I wanted more from both forward packs. I was really looking forward to this game on the weekend because I think it's almost the Hurricanes sort of have this. Their forward pack have always had this aura of being like completely mobile. Do you know what I mean? Like 1 to 8, they just move. And I thought that the Highlanders did a great job in slowing them down in that regard, like across the paddock. But then you look at the Highlanders and they're known to just around that ruck and more area, like they're just punching. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Big defense. And I thought that the Hurricanes really did well around the ruck and more to really not give them any of that space. But I don't want to say lackluster because it was a great game, but I just thought both forward packs were, that's why they get.
I thought, in my opinion, it wasn't a lack of work rate. Like, they were all putting in a good work rate, but it was just different decisions that they were making, or different kind of impact moments that they should have capitalized on. That could have added the kind of the extra line of fire. But
yeah, man,
you are right. It was played in the backs a lot. And I think that's where a question came about during this week, is that we've got a lot of people in kind of either news or social media arguing that Jordie Barrett now, which I don't really agree with, even though he had a pretty good game, is the number one fullback in New Zealand.
No.
Yeah.
No. Not at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I've been seeing that posted around, and
yeah,
like we spoke about it last week. He's great. He's a great kicker off the tee. He's great for territory when it comes to his field of play. But when it comes to a fullback, I just don't see him as. I see him as a good fullback, but not as number one. I just can't make that. I can't make that argument.
The Jordie Barrett scenario is just it's a case of like, for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, he's great. But you wouldn't say outstanding. You wouldn't, like, he doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is great. But does he change the momentum of games? Can we honestly sit here and say that in a worst case scenario, he can pull a game and win the game for his team? No. Yeah. And that's got nothing to do with how, like, I'm not saying he's not good. I think he's a great player, but the best fullback? No, I think, let's just look at the types of fullbacks that the Kiwis have right now and the other options. And what's the word I'm looking for? He does everything good.
Yeah.
But that's it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you got guys like, let's just take David Halvili for example, and we said that he'd be great off the bench for the All Blacks, but like at fullback, that guy does everything great. Do you know what I mean? Like he has that X factor. He hits the line, and you're like, oh snap. Do you know what I mean? And let's go one step further and compare Jordie to Bowden. When Bowden plays 15 for the Blues, even if he doesn't touch the ball, he's an option that the defense are looking at all the time.
See, I think that's the thing. I think Bowden really brings in, like, he sucks in at least two defenders, because you look at kind of the defensive presence around the back line.
Correct.
You'll never see Bowden just left open and going, he's going to get away. There's always two defenders in on him.
Yeah.
Where as Jordie, you see, I think it was a pot of three, and they had kind of like a hook play, but he went in between two of the players to score, to open up that pass.
Middle channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Great move, but I agree. He's never going to be the person where they're going to be, we're all going to have to jam it on him or the game's over. So
exactly, yeah, and I think that, and that's just for right now. I also thought I think the Jordie Barrett scenario also, and then I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I just think if his last name wasn't Barrett, he wouldn't have the fuss he has about him. I thought he was brought into the All Blacks way too early. I thought there were better options. And there was sometimes during the games where you could see it. I think he's infrequent in his playmaking decisions. There's times where he kicks when he should run. There's times when he runs when he should kick. So, but that just comes. He's young too. Do you know what I mean? So,
do you think though that early experience in the All Blacks, because you are right, is when he got those first couple of Test matches, he made some very rookie and very young mistakes. But do you think that trial by fire mentality will eventually put him in that conversation where he can make an argument to be the best outside back or the best fullback
definitely.
Eventually?
I just, you know what? I honestly think he's an outside center. I don't believe he's a fullback. I think because he's got silky hands, great kick, good speed, bigger lad. He's quite tall, stocky dude.
Yeah. Do you think his height adds kind of is that the argument? Why? Because he's got a few inches over some of the.
Here's
other
the thing,
fullbacks.
right? Here's the thing. You take when Israel Folau played for the Waratahs and the Wallabies, right? Israel Folau was the best fullback in the world, right? Couldn't kick, right? Couldn't kick. Yeah. Terrible kicker, which is a joke because he played AFL. But what he did do at fullback was safe under the high ball, really safe under the high ball, was an option to pass off 2 kicks so he could grab it. But when he hit that line, he broke defenders every single time. When he ran it back, he was not chopped down at the first or second defender. It was third or fourth. So you're talking the same dimensions as Jordie Barrett without a kick, and that guy was way more effective than what Jordie Barrett is. Now, his height, I mean, it obviously puts him in the market. But, you know, you look at someone like Ben Smith, who was shorter than Jordie Barrett, super safe under the high ball. And if he got anything more than 10 meters, you're not touching him. He set up, you know, in the offensive, if he was back by himself or had a winger or an outside center or center with him, he would make you're back in their territory straight away. Jordie Barrett doesn't do that. And I think they rely on his height to say it's some sort of safekeeping because, you know, he can get up and catch a ball. That's great. And he can kick the ball back. But you want a fullback that their first option isn't to kick. It's to look, scan, let's run and make the right option, whether that's that wide pass or taking the first hit to offload and set up a play. And I just don't think that he does that frequently enough to have a discussion that he's the best fullback right now in the world. And I think, yeah, definitely the trial by fire opened his mind to the possibilities. But I just think that doing that, he should be in that discussion of the best fullback in the world if he was playing that way. But I don't think he is. I think, on the weekend he had a great game. But what happened the week before? Do you know what I mean? Like, he can be scratched out of a game really easily. You can't scratch your Beauden Barretts. When Folau was playing, you couldn't scratch him out. David Havili, you can't scratch him out. Do you know what I mean? Like, these guys find ways to get into the game, to inject themselves and make a difference.
Do you think it's going to be a Barrett versus Barrett, North versus South game? Or do you reckon it's going to be...
Yeah. Nah, it will be, for sure. Also, I just think that they want to make money, so that's the best way to make money.
All right, we'll move on to the game that was obviously the most anticipated contest
a game
of the whole season, easily. So you've got an undefeated Crusaders and you've got a was undefeated Blues. Sorry if it's a spoiler if anybody hasn't watched the game, but you should know the score by now.
Exactly.
But it really didn't disappoint. But before we even get to the gameplay, I want to talk about the refereeing first again. So we spoke last week about how the refereeing, it's been very critical because obviously they've got these laws that they really want to focus on. And one of them, obviously a lot of them is around the ruck. But there's been a lot of kind of utilization of this by the opposition to kind of use that to their advantage. So I'll give you an example. So there's an example that the refs are trying to get the defensive player or the defensive tackler to roll away as quickly as possible. But what I've been seeing is that you've got the offensive support players, they're coming in and they're trapping that tackler or they're trapping that support player in there, and they're milking a lot of easy penalties. So have you been noticing this a lot?
Yeah, dude, I have. And I think too, they need clarification. I think if there's a clear attempt for the player to get out of the way, but they're stuck, you can't penalize that. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of those penalties are coming from the player actually trying to get out. And the opposite, they're being smart and they're trapping them in, which, look, fair play, just utilizing the rule to your advantage.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I think that if it's not impeding the play, like you'll see Bryn Hall, when he came in on the weekend, he'll just kneel on the guy and then he'll turn to the ref and he'll look at him and go, why isn't he getting out? This should be a penalty. And that's what happens with a lot of these trial laws, is that players will use that there to advantage. But I think the referee should have kind of a bit of leeway. If it's not like Bryn Hall's literally holding onto the ball, if it's not impeding that and there is still continuity in the game, play on. Yeah, I say that.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that one, dude. I'm with you. It's hard because they play at such a frantic pace that, you know, what they deem as slow ball is probably fast ball in the Australian comp. Oh, I'm so mean. I do mean I do mean that. But yeah, I think the referee definitely needs, I'm going to agree with you, they need some leeway to be like, well, hold on, you're impeding him trying to get out. You're doing this to yourself. So I'm with you on that, man. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's like it's you've got one or two things that are going to happen. It's once you kind of make those judgment calls, it can help and it can add more continuity, and you'll get less criticism from fans. But at the same time, there'll be there'll be kind of some backlash, I assume, with consistency. So someone will come up and go, "This was called. Why wasn't this called?" That kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll be your Richie McCaw type of captains.
I
Hey,
still I still
hey, man,
I still to this
yeah,
day I still to this day still get Aussie mates coming up to me and going, "He's the biggest cheat in rugby," and I was like,
Russ.
"Did he get called? Maybe
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes, but he used it to his
Exactly,
advantage."
mate.
Yeah,
Look, he's a leader. What he did was he learnt the rules and
yeah,
he learnt to bend them. Okay.
yeah. Oh, he bent the shit out of them, but
He was, you know, if he's you know, he's the last rule bender. Put him up there with the air bender, the wind benders. He's the rule bender. He's an avatar, bro.
I'm gonna get a graphic designer. I'm gonna get someone to make that. That'll be amazing. All right, so we'll talk about the Blues. So I reckon the Blues had a really promising first 15 minutes, and they put the Crusaders on the back foot. And one of the people that was doing that was Aotearoa Black, kind of leading the charge with a lot of smart and precise gameplay. So what did you think about that kind of the first 15 minutes?
Dude, the first 15 minutes, I guarantee you Scott Robertson was going, I was not prepared for this. I don't think anyone was. I was watching the game and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, the Blues dynasty is back.
Especially at home for the Crusaders, you'd think they would come out
Yeah.
firing, but yeah,
And
they
well,
kind
the
of look lost.
commentators said something in that first 10 minutes, and they were like, the Blues are doing exactly what other teams fail to do, and it's that if you can put the Crusaders on the back foot at home, they actually struggle to come back into the game. You know, they rely heavily on the crowd to get into the game, and I think it was like 10-0 at one point, and
Yeah, I
or
believe so. Yeah.
7-0, and
I
then
think it was 7-0, and then Richie kicked that first
oh,
kick.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And like the Crusaders fans were just it was a quiet day. And I was like,
yeah.
wow, this is amazing.
It was
Aotearoa Black, bro, he is wow.
He's
He is
coming into
coming,
his own.
dude. He's great. He's playing beautiful, man. The Blues, though, I thought they let themselves down.
In what way?
I just think they started the game at their normal pace. And then I think they hit cruise control about 22, 25 minutes in, then tried to ramp it up in that last 6-7 minutes of the first half. But it was, once the Crusaders get that sniff, and like it proves, you saw Richie Mo'unga didn't have the best first half, but that second half came out and just destroyed, like single-handedly destroyed them.
Yeah. It's opposite, as you said. Like Richie, it took him a little while to get going. I think it was quite crazy that the first points for the Crusaders happened almost 30 minutes into the game, and that was a penalty kick. It wasn't even a try. So even though it did take him a little bit while to get going, he stayed patient, he stayed composed, and he was able to kind of come out and show his experience. So what did you think about the 10 battle?
Well, we spoke about it briefly last week where we thought Richie wasn't playing the best footy recently. I think you're right. He showed a lot of patience, and things just weren't working for the Crusaders in that first half. And he was definitely a culprit of it. Kicks were going astray, making the wrong options come the line. Whereas on the opposite side, Aotearoa Black was doing everything perfectly. His kicking was pinpoint. He was crashing. What I like about him at Black at 10 is time doesn't slow down. He speeds it up. He makes them make a choice defensively, and then he reacts to what they're doing, which puts you got Rico Ioane there and what's his face, Clark on the wing, and he's giving them space to push wide, to come in, or to do whatever they need to do. And that's what I really like about him. And I think he's an exciting 10. Having said that, that second half, Richie Mo'unga stamped his foot as, all right, cool, man. I'm here. Yeah. I'm the All Black 10.
I am the 10.
Yeah, this is why. And you saw the All Black Richie Mo'unga come out and say, I'm the best 10 in the world right now. And no matter what the Blues threw at him, he had an answer for absolutely everything. And you know,
I think that's really true. Is because you saw the line break that he set up for George Bridge. Is that he basically had a small gap to work with where you had some rush defense. He dummied, waited for that precise moment, and then skyrocketed the pill past two players, and past Seven Reese and someone else, right into George Bridges' hand, and then about a 40-meter breakaway. So you are right.
Yeah, and it was great. It was a good game. I also think too, collectively though, when their 10s are performing, the team acts better. So that first half, the Blues are on point because they were hitting that line at pace. The forwards didn't have to run backwards; they were just running to the next ruck, setting up their pod quick ball.
Yeah.
In the second half, you saw the Crusaders do what the Crusaders always do at that 58-minute mark, lift, but then Richie lifted again, and then it just became this. And that's how they ran in those tries. Do you know what I mean? Is they would really just focused on the 10. What I did like about the game, though, in regards to the 10, is we're seeing that traditional 10 play now. Like, all right, your 10's your quarterback, for want of a better word. If he's nullified, the team suffer. If he's killing it, it exemplifies the rest of the team, which was really, really good to see, because I think that lacks in a lot of other teams. And the game was, if you missed the game, you missed probably the best Super Rugby game you're going to see this year, because
go watch the replay at least.
It was so good, man. So good. Minimum errors, maximum just awesomeness.
Yeah. The one thing that I've been finding, though, is that with Aotearoa Black being that distributor and kind of making those decisions, he's got two really, really good choices in strong wings. So you've got like Bridge and Reese, who are very, very slick. They're very agile. They're very to kind of find their moments in those back lines. But if Clark's not working for Aotearoa Black and he's not getting enough space, he's got Talia on the other side. And you saw on the weekend that as soon as he got Talia into space, he was able to put him in the right position. So,
dude, that backline right now, there's going to be outside Bernard Barrett, obviously, but that's a strong contender for an All Black backline. Clark and Talia. What I like about Clark and Talia, and you're right, they're a different kind of breed of a winger. They're like the new hybrid winger, where you got like some Jonah Lomu in Clark, and then you've got some Rokathoko in Talia, where both strong ball runners, but don't necessarily, they're not, stick on the wing type guys. They're coming in, like, give me the work.
Yeah.
And then they're back out on their wing. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And yeah, they're not as slick. They're not as silky smooth.
Yeah.
But one-on-one, they beat you because they run at you, over you, around you, or through you. And that's something that the All Blacks haven't had for a while. And New Zealand rugby, I think, are just missing that little bit. It's almost like a throwback to, like the 96 to 2005 type of Blues, where they just had like, Joeli Vidiri, Jonah Lomu. Do you know what I mean? You just had these dudes that were just like, man, we're skillful, but, we're not trying to look pretty. We're trying to like murder you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is too, is that we saw it with Clark. I think it was either last week or the previous week. It was he just chooses the right places to run. If he needs to go through contact, he's able to do it. But the two tries that he scored that off that previous game, he just hit the right gap, and I think that's where his sevens really comes handy.
100%. And you watch the difference between, so we'll take Ben Lamb, because Ben Lamb came from the sevens circuit as well, right? Where Ben Lamb he sits on the wing, he doesn't look for the channel, so he's waiting for the play to be made, and then he just hits that line. Whereas you watch Clark, he seems to stick in the pocket of his outside, and then he just watches, because sometimes you'll see Ioane will actually take that wide line, and Clark just sort of sits in that pocket, then he'll cut in, or you'll see him push Ioane in and then hold his wide line. I'm like, dude, that is brilliant play. Also helps that Ioane play sevens as well. So you know what I mean? They get it. And Talia, he's just a freak, man. Like, he's come out of the blocks sprinting and killing it. What he does in regards of his ball retention, like, he loves making contact because he knows and trusts that the second person to that moment of contact is his teammate, not the opposition, because he deliberately will make that room. And you watch what happens when Talia takes that contact. They'll shoot to that side because there's no one there because the ball comes out that fast. And usually it's Aotearoa Blacks running sort of around to make that play. And there'll be some inside play with like an inside flank coming through or a fullback, Bowden Barrett, which I'm like, dude, man, this like he just re-signed for like 4 years. So that's great retention by the Blues.
They're definitely happy to keep him on the books and get him going.
Was he half Samoan, half African? South African?
I think so. Something like that. Yeah, he's got a little bit of island flavor in that kind of that African vibe. So yeah,
those jeans though,
they're pretty good. But we spoke about Rico as well, and I think he's now finding his stride in that 13 jersey. He played 13 for Ponsonby and for his school. But he obviously had his stint in the outside backs. But I think now he's kind of getting his groove going. But do you think that selectors will put him in that for that North-South game? Do you reckon it's going to be 13, or do you reckon he's going to be put back in the outside backs?
Look, you have to keep him at 13, I think. He looks like he's bulked up too. He's quite strong in contact now, and I don't want to say he was afraid of contact, but you could definitely tell he was more the avoid it if I can.
Yeah.
Now you can see in his shoulders and his arms, he's a bit bulkier, so he's taking that contact and he's making it over the advantage line. And I don't mean by 1 or 2 meters. I mean like 5, 10, 15 meters and setting up the next play, if not offloading straight away. So I think we're going to see him at 13 a lot more. And I think his speed is just second to none. I don't think any center in Kiwi rugby will go toe to toe with him.
I think the one thing that may hold him back though is something that he may need to steal from his brother with his strength in the clean out, because every clean out I saw him, he would go in, and this pains me to say because I'm no easy family, love my Ponsonby family, but like when he goes into the clean out every time, he just doesn't make an impact. And I think you've got guys like your ALBs and you've got other people like your Good Hughes who can go in and they can kind of hit that and get them out straight away, where he has to kind of struggle a little bit and try and move them out of the way.
Definitely lacks the physical prowess when he needs to. That's a fair point, man. And at outside center, you need to be able to do that, man. Otherwise, you're right. Actually, thinking back to the game, every time, and it was like watching a Corolla go head to head to a semi-trailer. It's like, bro, what are you doing, man?
Especially off that set piece, you're going to need to kind of if you want quick ball off that, you're going to have to clean them out straight away. So I think if he can work on that, then definitely something that he can kind of get going. But
get going again. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think they're going to play him at 13 or back to the wing?
I want to agree with you, because I think why would they kind of, obviously you can't tell Liam McDonald what to do, but why would you kind of not like just let him play in that 13 jersey and let him develop and not utilize that come test time? So
what's the other options though? Do you know what I mean? I mean, who are they going to play there? Because you got Lamape, who's not having the greatest season in the world. You got ALB. So there's your 12, and what's his name?
And you got Good Hugh. Who else? Not Proctor. I can't think. But it's kind of the argument you've got to make is you're spoiled for choice when it comes to outside backs with your wingers and your fullbacks, and you're kind of lacking that X factor in your 13 kind of 12 jersey. So if you can,
No, so So I was just gonna say we're missing like the remember Alama Iramia?
Yeah.
Like that type of 13 where you had the speed, the strength, and the power, and just in broken play would just kill it. So I mean, I don't know.
You got your TJ Faianis and you got your Vince Arso. So
Vince Arso, that's what I was thinking of. Who is having a good season, by the way.
So it's like because I wasn't surprised that he got the starting jersey, but when he played 13 in that back line for the Hurricanes, he just brought such a just a powerful ball runner. He was able to kind of hit the line so well. He created a lot of mischief for the Highlanders. So that's something where does he get a call up into that 13 jersey? Let's see.
I know it's gonna look. We said it last week that this game's gonna be better than the Bledisloe.
I kind of tell someone to make an argument that it's better than a Bledisloe, because at the moment, comparatively, when you not saying we've spoken about it multiple times on the show, we're not saying that Aussie rugby doesn't have talent, but comparatively, you look at kind of the standards, and it's just a level beyond. Yeah.
So okay, hold on, just digressing to the North-South game.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the black jersey and who has the white jersey?
I think South has the white jersey.
White jersey,
I believe.
Right. Cool.
I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's the white jersey.
Tickets are on sale now, and I was like, "Damn COVID, damn you COVID!" I would have loved to have gone to that.
I was actually looking at it yesterday, and I saw a notification popped up on my phone that said, "Buy your tickets now." And I went into my mindset that was like, "Oh, I still lived a 10-minute walk away from Eden Park. Let's buy tickets. Oh, they're $30." And I went through all of it, looking at where it is, and I'm like, I'm in California right now. I'm not getting anywhere near.
Yeah, man, you just in there. A dirt to be like, nah, gee, get up.
I don't care if you got a passport. You can go to COVID Central and you can stay there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the last thing I wanted to talk about was, I can't believe we're talking about this kid again, but Will Jordan. He comes off the bench.
Jordan.
And I think it's 15 minutes left to go. He has a few touches, scores another bloody try. But do you think he's a better player as a utility, having Bridge, Havili, and Reese, or do you put him in the starting lineup?
Man, we said this. We spoke about this. I think he is definitely start. You could start him. Mm-hmm. The problem that you face is who you're dropping.
Yeah.
So in that case, definitely off the bench. I think, let's be honest here, it's Havili who's going to get dropped if they ever had to do it.
Which is so disappointing, because you think about it, he's put in so much work to cement himself as that 15 player. He can play any position on the field, and he's been the traditional person who's worked his way up through he just won a friggin' Mitre 10 Cup championship. So
yeah. And, I know, and I think the reason why, in case people are wondering why it'd be Havili, is because the other two are actually specialists. So you want someone off the bench who can come in, slot in at wing, fullback, center, or even fly half. Yeah. So that's why I think Will Jordan, though, I think they'll make him pay his dues. He'll be coming off the bench a lot. I thought they would have given him a bit more time, but given how the game was going, you definitely didn't want to bring him on too early, because all it would take is one little bit of exploit, and then maybe he wouldn't be able to handle it.
I was nervous about Bridge coming back in after his injury, but he had a blinder. He played so well.
Dude, man, he's a freak, man. He is an unsuspecting rugby freak. Not the biggest, not the bulkiest, not the fastest, but somehow he is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just this makes no sense. How are you doing this thing? Yeah, and admittedly, I was shocked that they were going to start him. But he killed it, crushed it, bro. Yeah. But yeah, Will Jordan, man, he's a wow. We're seeing the makings of a legend right now. It's almost like watching Kalen Ponga come up through the ranks in the NRL.
I'd pay that. Yep.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's something about him, man. There's this X factor and this silky smooth. I don't know, man. He just can see everything happen before him and makes the decision. And how do you always make the right decision?
Yeah, it's like I think I heard someone. I don't know if it was Justin Marshall, but I think someone saying on the commentating team, we're just waiting for this kid to make a wrong decision and go, oh, it actually happened, because he's just doing so well. But
killing it, man. That's your boy too. I know that's the guy that you want.
No,
man, if you got a fantasy team, you need him in your team.
100%. No, I'm putting him in straight away. I don't care who else you want me to put in there. He's in. But at the end of the day, I think Blues, they did what a lot of people didn't think that anybody thought they would do. Is they played a wicked game. They couldn't finish it off. Paddy Tuipulotu said it in this post game interview. He thought they had a great start. Got into the mix of the game, but they just couldn't capitalize on the finish. And Crusaders
Correct.
just championship team. So
Man. Yeah, it was a great game, and he was completely right. And it's a good learning curve for the Blues too. I think it'll help them come the second round, because I think second round starts this weekend.
Last game of the season is Crusaders Blues. So if the Crusaders can somehow get another loss, get a loss under their belt, and then hopefully it'll be a decider, because that's what
I'm calling it now. I'm calling it now. Mark it all in. Get your multis ready. Chiefs to go undefeated in the second round.
And you just lost $100. Thank you.
I know,
very much.
Right? Wishful thinking. I'm loyal, bro. I'm loyal.
I know. It's just painful.
Cruden doesn't deserve this. No, Cruden doesn't deserve this,
especially with how well he's been playing. I didn't want to get into it. We'll save for next week, and we'll see what happens. But it's called the bonus point for a reason, and we got our bonus point topic for this week. And this week, we have been seeing rumblings of a proposal for a Tusanza to have all the Rugby Championship games in New Zealand. So, what are your thoughts?
Yes. That's my answer. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Because I keep seeing all these people saying it's got to be in Sydney, it's going to be in all these other places, and I'm sitting there going, you've got two teams that aren't even active at the moment. You don't have Argentina, you don't have South Africa going at the moment, and you've got Australia, which has got the biggest rise of cases besides obviously the United States. So
correct.
New Zealand's the only place that you got to do it just like the NRL did it. Get everyone, or how the NBA's doing it. Get everyone in a bubble.
Yep.
Get them training, and then just get them on the field. So
Yep. And I think too like financially it works really well. It'll be interesting to see the distribution of funds and how the accommodation and everything came out. But if we're being serious here, New Zealand is the most logical place for it to happen.
Yeah. If anybody makes an argument, it'll be someone from Australia just trying to help the.
Oh, dude, it'll be Phil Kearns.
Shut up, Phil. Oh man, if I hear him say one more thing, I'm gonna lose it.
But yeah, no,
right.
I'm all for it. What, you agree? You're the same?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. If anybody can make a logical argument to say why it should be in Australia, I'm all for listening to it. But I've gone through the thought process a million times. There's no way you can make an argument where it's not New Zealand. It's just it's plain and simple. That's it. Yeah.
And like it's all of New Zealand too. You can play in Auckland, Waikato, Welly, Christchurch, Otago. You can play everywhere. And also like man, take a game out to the Bay. Do you know what I mean? Like let's really like bring rugby out over there. And I mean, here's the thing: they're gonna sell out everywhere.
Yeah, they have to, especially with people being stuck in. You've been seeing the crowds that have been like, you saw it at Canterbury, how packed that stadium was, even though it is Crusaders fans, but still, it's.
But that's what I mean, and like they love rugby so much, and I think especially the state that Rugby Australia is in right now, like man, you've got the number one sport in the number one country of that sport wanting to say, hey, let's do this. Let's take advantage of it. Let's really if you're performing in front of, 15 to 25,000 people week in, week out, how is that a bad thing? And It's across the ditch, man. Like if the Force remain in the competition, I mean, sure, they have to travel the most, but I'm pretty sure that team aren't going to mind, bro.
All right, brother. Well, thank you very much for joining us for episode 2. No, that was awesome. We will look forward to this to see someone dying. We'll post those videos of the burpees so we make sure that we have proof.
For sure.
But yeah, tune in for a couple of extra guests coming in. We've got some interviews coming in next week, so make sure you don't miss out on those. But thank you very much for tuning in to the Bonus Point Podcast.